Jason Guyman here with pressurewashhelp.com, christmaslights.com, Christmas lights help, all different kinds of stuff here. And today I have Mr. Jon. And I wanted to just talk a little bit about what we got going on here. And so let me get this because this is going to drive me nuts. Because that video is delayed badly and I want to see the comments. There we go. So what did that do to my screen here? See that I'm actually in a hotel room right now, so bear with me because I'm going it through Zoom, guys, and I want to make sure that everything is working right, and it looks like it is, and all the great stuff along the way. So so the very first thing we got going on here, Mr. Jon, what tell me who are you and where are you from and a little bit about your family.
Sure. I am Jon Etter. I live in Spanaway, Washington, Washington State. So I'm in the Northwest. Unfortunately, our Seahawks lost today, but that's okay. A lot of great football being played this year. Let me see. I started a pressure washing company in May of this year. So right smack dead in the middle of the pandemic. And I've got a wife, 2 kids. My wife and I just celebrated 12 years together. And my son is 13 and my daughter is 5. And they're both crazy.
I hear you about that. I hear that. I understand. I got a 13 and a 6 or a 12 and a 6-year-old, and they drive you nuts. So that's definitely something. So you have done 70,000 in 6 months pressure washing, spraying water. And so through that, what are some things that you have learned in the last 6 months? Or let's go back a little bit. What did you do before you started doing the pressure washing, and why did you have to start pressure washing for?
Oh, that's a long answer. So, I mean, I'm a career salesman. I've sold literally everything. I love selling. I don't believe in selling things that I don't believe in. So I just love selling. I love interacting with people. I mean, if you want to know like the 100% truth, I was in the vape industry, the electronic cigarette industry for a long time, and on the manufacturing side. And then we opened up stores. And then so I had 6 retail stores. And then in Washington State, there were some legislative things. And in August of last year, I had to close 6 stores and fire 30 people. And that was rough. And I was able to keep a small portion of my business kind of going. And I decided so that was August. So August, September, October-ish, I took my creatives people, my graphic designers, my videographers, and we went to go start a media company helping brands connect with micro influencers and all of this crazy stuff. So just completely different than pressure washing, right? Just on the way other side of the spectrum. And it was doing well. And we were working with brands, in the US, and then also, we worked with China a lot, for products and distribution and things like that. So we heard about COVID in December. Then in February, Chinese New Year hits, and we're very used to Chinese New Year, where production of everything just stops. If you do any business with China, you know that there's lead times. There's like a 4-week lead time for everything during Chinese New Year. But it was when Chinese New Year was done and they didn't come back to work was when we got extremely scared, because when China does go back to work, that's literally billions of dollars a day that they're losing. So my partner and I at that time decided, before Washington had shut down and everything, that we were going to close that business because we couldn't float salaries. We knew what was coming, or we had an idea of what was coming before a lot of Americans did, because we saw, we were getting calls from Chinese distributors that were saying, no, we're not going back to work. And I've never heard of that call happening. So we closed that business down, and I just minimized my payrolls and everything, and I just kind of sat around for a few months figuring out what the next step was and dealing with the pandemic like everybody else was, social distancing and just figuring out what this new world was going to look like, and it was crazy. And then my wife, I had bought a pressure washer, the little electronic Sunjo pressure washer from Amazon. I bought it like 2 years ago, and it sat in the box. Then my wife got a hair up her butt, and she grabbed it, she put it, went out back and started pressure washing. And it took her about 5 hours to do our back patio, which is a tiny slab. And she's doing it with the white tip with an electric pressure washer. And I said, that wasn't that bad. I said, so I told my son, I said, if you go out front and do the driveway, I'll pay you, I'll give you $40. So he did it, and it took him all day, like, again, that little guy. And I said, there's got to be a better way. So I just started watching videos online and whatnot, and I realized what I had was not it. And it's kind of like the Tonka toy of pressure washing. And then and then I said my at the time my son was mowing lawns to make some money. So I said, hey, offer pressure washing, right? Like offer like do people's driveways. So people were biting. People were like letting him do it for $50. And I said, let me see what this really costs. So I looked into it, and I said, man, there's some money here. So with the little electric thing, we started going around our neighborhood offering it as a service. People were biting. And I said, okay, let's make the first investment, get a little Ryobi. And it just kind of grew. Like every time I just went back to it, I realized there's more money on the table. There's more money on the table. And so we just kept on investing in equipment, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And May 22nd is when I decided, you know what, let's just do this thing. I'm going to start really advertising, really putting some energy and money behind this thing. And then yeah, we just went after it and started the business.
So when you did, what was so you started doing it. What was the first thing you did to try to get the phone to start ringing? What was some things that you did to, obviously you're in sales, so you kind of got some knowledge behind it, but even then you still got to know marketing, and obviously you've been doing it for a while, but what are some things that you did to try to get the phone to ring?
I mean, I always tell everybody, if well, I want to go right one step back, and I want to talk about you and give you a lot of credit here. Like when I was watching your videos really gave me the information to be confident enough to pursue those first phone calls, right? So I think the first obstacle that any business owner or any service professional has to get over is the confidence. You're going to be putting thousands of pounds of pressure on people's valuable homes and properties and whatnot. And there's a mental barrier, you have to overcome. I see a lot of guys in these pressure washing groups, and there's 20,000 people in a group, but literally only 5,000 are active and 15,000 are still trying to build up that confidence. Um, so the first thing was research, watching probably 100 hours of your videos, watching just everything I can, researching everything I can. And then from there, warm market. I always say tap into your warm market first, which is the people So call aunties, uncles, cousins, friends, family, and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. I want to give you an introductory rate. Let me clean your driveway, $50. Let me if I mess up your driveway, it's not a big deal. But and you're building confidence in yourself. And then once you start doing that, I went into Facebook marketing, 100% free, just Facebook groups, buy, sell groups, things like that. I have YouTube video about that, but uh, just basically kind of guerrilla marketing tactics, just free,
Boots on the
anything.
ground mark, the boots on the market, boots, that's considered a lot of time boots on the ground marketing. Anytime you're doing a lot of that stuff, you're talking about the yard signs, you're talking about doing all the different things of, Facebook,
Yep.
YouTube, or not YouTube, but Facebook and Instagram, and all that kind of stuff that it's just kind of that down grunt, get it done, get it up, and get that business going. Is
You
that
have
what you
to.
mean?
You have to. No, that's that. And again, that will give you the confidence to put thousands into marketing later. It's all about building confidence. And you don't have to spend $10,000 into a marketing strategy like day one. You have to get the confidence that you can do the job and that the phone will keep ringing. And then when you have that confidence, then you could put a few hundred, few thousand, into a program and just baby step it.
And that's 100%. And that's the thing about when we're learning about this stuff. A lot of times, people want to be like, how do you put $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month in marketing? Why would you do that for? Well, once you learn that if I put $100 in and it gives me 1,000, or I'm sorry, yeah, I put
Yeah,
100 in, it gives me 1,000, and I got a 10% ROI, then I can give more and I can keep going up. And if I put 1,000 in, it's going to give me 10,000, And
yeah,
so, if I know I got a 10% ROI, then it's just a matter of keep feeding the beast at that point.
exactly. Yeah.
And that's what we really want to do. And that's how we're able to make more money, because I put down in here that you made 70,000 in 6 months, but how much did you spend in marketing to be able to get
Tons.
that 70,000?
Tons. Yeah, yeah. I mean, initially I spent nothing. That was all like my first 20 jobs. I spent nothing to get that. But after those first 20 jobs, I God, I messed up everything. I messed up everything in those first 20 jobs. I was upstreaming SH. I was running it through the pump of my Ryobi's, just burning it up. Man, I did such rookie stuff. I don't think I changed the oil on my first machine ever. It just I was losing pressure and I didn't realize that this has oil and this had oil and I have to run two different oils. I was putting uh what is that called? It's you have to use non-sudsy, what is it called?
All non-detergent oil.
Yeah, non-detergent oil. I was putting detergent oil in that thing and I was losing pressure almost immediately. And it was pouring out and it was like milky and gray. And I was like, what is going on? And I looked and there's no videos on it. And Mr. Jason Guyman didn't make a video for me because he knows what he's doing.
Oh, I
And
got a video on there about it. You just you didn't go through enough to find it, because there's
yeah,
about
okay.
500
That's
other
probably
videos
what it is.
there too.
That's
So,
probably true. I believe it. I believe
uh,
it.
but let's talk about that. So you talked about, how you kind of started to get in there, and even myself, of training and that kind of stuff. Because obviously you don't seem like a person of the tech type of guy, as in the hands-on type of
No,
person. You seem, most sales guys don't want to get their hands dirty at the end of the
yeah.
day. So how was that transition of learning the skill to be able to make sure you don't keep screwing up stuff and things?
Um, I'll tell you, like when I was young, a teenager, I did a lot of like hands-on work, a lot of unloading trucks and things like that. But I mean, for the past, 15 years, I've been lazy. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm like, these hands are built for keyboards. They're not built for, grime work. So my wife was like skeptical. She was like, are you sure you're built for this? I said, what are you talking about, man? If I could, I'm a man, I could do and I would come home and my back was hurting, my feet were sore and they were waterlogged and I didn't have the right shoes and just everything. And I was like, I don't think I'm built for this. um so it, the transition was interesting. It was fun. It was I think that was the best part about it. It was extremely fun because, I'm used to constantly, this is going to sound bad. I'm used to constantly trying to figure things out, figuring out angles and trying to outsell this guy and trying to work this customer, that this job allows me to kind of take my time and and you know kind of zone out and just be one-on-one with the house or one-on-one with the project, and throw on some headphones and listen to an audiobook and just kind of zone out and just take my time, so it was honestly very zen for me, um doing this kind of project. And it was hard on my body at first. I didn't realize, God, carpal tunnel. I didn't realize carpal tunnel was a thing with pressure washing. When you're squeezing that thing and that vibration, that's just something that's not talked about a lot. Um, Waterlogged on your feet. I have a very different appreciation for Forrest Gump when he's talking about like changing your socks. I have a very different appreciation for that now. Um, so it's, but besides the physical tolls that are initially taken, mentally it was awesome. It was very cool.
Well, it's one of those things that it is kind of refreshing. You kind of go see a dirty old house and you make it look new again, And the more you do it, the faster you get at it, the more you learn, the
Mhm.
easier it gets and all that kind of stuff. So the next thing is how did you transition from the $50 driveways and start raising your prices and getting them up to where you can make 70,000? Because we all know if our prices are at $50, it takes a whole lot of jobs to get to 70,000.
In your group, pressure washing help, you actually hit the nail on it today. I did exactly what you said. And again, it goes back to that C word, the confidence word. When you get okay, I think I'm gonna answer one of your future questions, but I'm gonna have to answer it now. I did a house, one of my biggest mistakes. I bid a house for $400. It was a driveway, it was a ton of concrete. And I had a little Ryobi, and I had the little Ryobi surface cleaner, and I was doing it with the wand, and they were late. They were looking at me like I was crazy. They were just like, this guy's gonna take forever. And I did. It took me 3 days to make $400. Um, three like get after them days to make $400. And that was my biggest underbid that I've done so far. But it's so what you said in the pressure washing help was, it- once you start filling up your schedule, then you test the market, right? You push. So instead of charging $300, you charge 350, you charge 400, you charge 5, you charge 8, and you get told no. And then you bring it down to 750. And then you keep pushing and butting against the top end of that market. And then you start not wanting to get in your car for a specific dollar amount. So now my MOQ is or my minimum dollar is $500. I don't start my car for less than $500.
And
If
that's
I'm
in Seattle, which Seattle is high dollar. And there's
It
a
is.
lot where it's in suburb of Seattle. And
It
there's a
is.
lot of money to be made in Seattle. And even up in that whole West Coast, Portland area, all of that
Yeah.
area, there is a ton of money. I know a lot of people that make a lot of money up in that area. And a lot of times I hear people, well, I would never charge that or whatnot, or I would never pay that. Well, it kind of goes back to what I always say. You are not your target market. I would
Yep.
never pay that much to have my house washed. Would my wife pay that much? Well, maybe so, but I wouldn't, and so again, I am not my market. I am
Right.
looking for people that will pay me that. Now, are you going to close every job at that higher price? No,
No.
you don't want to close every job. What
Right.
is your average close rate right now at that ticket price?
So, my close rate was sitting around, I mean, like 80%. And like you said, I saw that as a problem. 80% is too high of a close rate. I got it down to like 30%. And then, I've kind of whittled it between 30 and 50%. And when people tell me no, and they talk to me about price, I know they're not my customer. I'm like, good, I'm not for you. Call someone else, and I'm happy with that. Um, I'm completely fine with that with that problem.
And I like to be, if I can be in that 50% range, 60% range, I'm happy of my close rate. But now, if you are not a salesperson, that means every yes, you get a no. And so, you might have to get 5 no's before you get 4 yeses or 5. And that's
Yeah.
usually how it goes. And usually you don't get your 5 yeses and then you get 5 no's. Usually it goes, you get your 5 yeses, or you get your 5 no's, and then you will get your 5 yeses. And so that is the beauty of us cleaning and stuff like that. And so, when we are trying to figure out pricing, it's not the easiest thing to do. Obviously, you're in a different market. You're in the average cost of living up there is insane high in the first place. And so, I know that because I got some friends up there. I was up there last year, and I rode around with his pressure washing company, and they're the ones. The one that I was riding around was actually the ones that bought our company, and it is expensive up there, but people are willing to pay the money also because they also know the cost of living is there.
Sure.
Is there the $99 guy up there? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is the $99 guy going to last? Absolutely not.
No.
And so that is the beauty of it. So with that said, what was probably the hardest now you're being in sales, this makes it a little bit easier because you also understand how to talk about people's objections. So how do you overcome people's objections of somebody on here watching that might understand if they have a price objection or different objection? What are some good ways of overcoming objections?
I'm going to say there's a book, read anything from Grant Cardone. He has the best so this is not mine, this is great. So I had my theories and everything, and Grant Cardone, when I read his books, he, I guess, framed it for me. So I'm going to give him credit for this, but I agreed with this prior to it. And that's agree with him, right? Honestly, I never try to combat a objection, because if I combat an objection, then I'm fighting against the grain. You're going against the stream. If somebody says this is expensive, absolutely it is. 100%. It is very expensive. This is an expensive service. And the reason why it's expensive is we've invested in the knowledge, we've invested in the time, we've invested in the equipment to make sure that we can do this service and take care of your home for a lot longer. Let me ask you, customer, which is more expensive, me cleaning your roof today or you replacing it in 5 years? And they say, we're replacing a roof in 5 years. It's like, absolutely. So let's take care of this today for, a fraction of the cost. And when it's about agreeing and then recalibrating, it's acknowledging, agreeing, recalibrating. That's my steps for overcoming objections. So if they say, I don't care what they say. I mean, honestly, if they say, I don't think you can do a good job, I 100% agree with you. You have no idea if I'm going to do a good job or not. But my price should tell you that I probably will. And then I can back up my price. And we do this. I back up because my prices are so high. I offer 100% customer satisfaction guarantee. So I've had 2 jobs where a customer was partially satisfied with what I did, and it was a miscommunication in our wording and like what the understanding was. And I told them, don't pay for it, no problem. And I walked away from $1,000 on it, but I had $1,000 job tomorrow and $1,000 job the next day and $1,000 job. So I didn't care about that 1,000, because I had filled up my pipeline so much with other high ticket items.
Well, and that's a good point. I'm going to jump back into the sales side of things, because this is part that a lot of people struggle with of dealing with, especially if you pressure washing or not been an entrepreneur or not been in the business side of things, and sales is one of them. And so you were talking about basically agreeing with them, which is great. And the other thing that I've always learned is you want to ask them yes questions.
Yeah.
Yes questions is amazing, because when you can get them to start saying yes and yes and yes, and when you give that price, what's the next thing coming out?
Yes.
Yes.
100%.
And so I know this is a lot of sales tactics of that, and there's a lot of mental things that go in behind the scenes of that. But if we can get that customer to answer yes questions, then they will keep answering those questions with yes. And we don't want them to be like, no, no,
Yeah.
no, because what's your price? No,
No.
we
Yeah.
want yes, 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 yes.
So, I mean, I'll tell you my exact sales process. I have a specific sales process that I've outlined, and I just give it away. Um, it's really simple. And anybody here can do it. It does. And when I say anybody here can do it, I don't mean once I say this, you're going to go out there and start closing, sales right away. What I mean is, it is, it's like throwing a football. Can you throw 60 yards right away? No. You have to, but anybody can with enough practice. It's not beyond anyone, right? So, same thing with this. If you take these steps and just practice them individually, you're going to start to see your close rate like increase. And it's very simple. First is a good greeting. Next is uncover the customer's why. So I tell people I've never sold a pressure washing job. I've sold and somebody getting the HOA off their back. I've sold um, a clean home because the in-laws are coming in. I've sold a clean home to get high market value for selling a home. I don't sell pressure washing. I sell why they're needing the pressure washing. Um, Next is ask expert questions. So um, I do all my bidding over the phone. I don't go on site to anywhere. I don't show up. I've got enough experience at this point where I don't need to go to look at a project. I just see it over the phone. I know what it's going to cost me. I know how long it's going to take me, and I just give them the price right there. But I ask expert questions that the other guy is not going to ask. So, for example, if somebody says, I know everybody's going to ask, what's the square footage? Or when are you looking to have it done? But they may not ask, are there any plants or vegetables that, do you have any gardens that we need to protect? Right? Those little questions like that I try to find or using Google Earth and other things lets the customer know that I care and that I'm a high level professional that is going to take care of their property. I'll ask them, are there any areas that you really want us to focus on? And they'll say, well, the whole house. And I was like, of course, absolutely. We're going to take care of the whole home. We're going to make it pristine. I just want to make sure that if there's any particular areas, and they always say the north side, of course, you know, um,
Well, and that's not a bad thing either, because sometimes it might be the spot that, is underneath the deck that
yeah,
she drives home. And when she pulls in the garage, she sees that one spot. And in the end, that's the spot and I ask the same question when I go to the door. And that's the reason why is I've had houses that, the north side is completely green. And I'm like, man, this looks brand new. And she's like, but you missed that spot right there. And
right.
that spot right there was the spot that she wanted clean. She
That's
could
the
care
whole
less
reason she
because
called.
the north side of the house, she never sees it because
Right.
when she drives by, she don't go that way. But she sees this right here by the garage door. And that's what we need to that's what happens, and that's how we can set ourselves apart. And I understand what you're saying with that
Yeah.
100%. Bobby Walker's always talking about it's the little things, and
Yeah.
that's basically what we're talking about here. All the little things will add up, and that will get us a 5-star review at the end of it. And
100%.
so when we're working on this, those little things mean a lot. So what are some other little things that you try to get pulled out?
Um, well, so this is the next thing, and you can kind of interchange these next two steps. Um, I always get a schedule commitment first before I tell the price. And this kind of goes back to your yes thing. So when you say, when I'm talking, okay, I'm looking to have my home clean. I'm going to put it on the market. I say, okay, no problem. We have Wednesday at 12 p.m. Does that work for you? They say, well, what is it going to cost? I'm putting together the estimate for you right now. I just want to make sure that we have the time frame that's going to work for you. And they say, okay, yeah, that works. That's a yes question, right? We're getting the first commitment. So there's yes questions, and then beyond that there's commitment questions. And when they commit to a date, they're they're practically selling themselves at this point. So I always get a yes from them and a date commitment from them. The next thing, and this is, I think, the most important process that I think a lot of people miss. And I really hope nobody in my area is watching this, because they're going to put me out of business. Because this is the secret sauce right here. This is
Well,
this
you
is
know what the secret sauce is? This is the secret sauce. Take action. And a lot of people don't have that part of it. If you don't take action, it don't matter what you do.
this is true. This is true. This is my secret sauce, though. This is my little cinnamon and my honey barbecue sauce, right? This is it. I explain my process thoroughly. Now, why is that like super important? When I tell a customer, I said, I'll tell you a sale I just made the other day. I told a customer, they said they called for a roof cleaning, and I talked to them about siding and gutters and all that other stuff. And they said, well, how much is this all going to cost? I said, well, customer, this is what we're going to do. We're going to show up. We're going to hook up to your hose. We're going to spray a sodium hypochlorite treatment mixed with the surfactant on your roof. And that's going to kill all the organic matter, and it's going to leave your roof shining, and it's going to add years onto your roof. Then we're going to spray a diluted version of that same treatment onto the home. And that's going to disinfect, clean, and kill the growth for a lot longer, making your home absolutely shine. After that, we're going to go on the driveway. We're going to hit it with our turbo nozzle, because you have an aggregate driveway, and we're going to peel away all the dirt that's on there. And then afterwards, we're going to finish it with a surface cleaner that's going to make sure that we're not leaving any marks, any scuffs, or anything like that. And everything's going to have a nice, smooth finish. He said to me, oh my gosh, what is that going to cost me? Right? In his mind, I've just given him the world. Right? Now, to everybody listening to this, that's what we do on every job, right? That's literally the nuts and bolts of every job that we do. But he doesn't know that. He thinks I've just given him the Rolls Royce of packages, and I tell him, I said, sir, it's going to cost you $999. And he goes, $1,000. That's it. And I said, yes, sir. And he says, this is a 1-story house, 1,500 square feet. And he said, absolutely. Let's go ahead and get it signed up. And I already had a date from him. I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and schedule you on that date. When you tell people your process, like, think about this. You go to a doctor and they said, we got to do surgery on you, sir. What do? They tell you what they're going to do to you. They walk you through the surgery. You go to a mechanic and they say, your transmission's out. This is what we're going to do. Any high-level professional tells you what they're going to do. And that's, to me, the sauce. When you tell somebody what they're going to do, the price doesn't matter anymore.
Because that's no different than you can go look up any classes on the internet, and the sales page is going to give you all these extra benefits. Bam, 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 bam. And if you buy today, we're going to give you this, this, and this, all for this one price of this right here. I mean, you can go on to any halfway decent sales pages out there, and that is what it's all about, giving value. Yep. And look at and over delivering and giving as much as you can to show that it's not just, oh, I'm going to come do a house wash and I'm going to be there 45 minutes and I'm going to charge $300. Because what if you told somebody that? They're going to be like, 35 minutes, 45 minutes, and you're going to charge me how much? No, we're not going to say that. We're going to tell them the process. And I agree. And I also understand, we don't want to take their time too much, because a lot of times they don't care about all the other things, but then there's some that do. And so that is the beauty of this, of giving that information, and to be able to sell that person and to get that higher sales rate and higher price. Because at the end of the day, who wants to go do 5 $200 jobs? Or would you rather do $1,000 job?
So it's really funny that you said that. Because that was the shift in mindset for me. There was a very, very specific shift. I saw on YouTube, there was a lot of guys talking about, like, they do 4, 5, 6, 7 houses a day. And so I tried to get there. That was my first goal. You had asked me earlier, what was my goal? My goal was to do 5 houses a day. And I remember I did 4 houses in one day, hooking up, unhooking up, pulling the pressure washer out, all that stuff. And it killed me. And I said, I don't want to do this. Like I'll say this with any job you do, your main focus has to be not to get burnt out, right? And 4 houses a day doing it the way I was doing it was going to burn me out. I was not going to want to do this. So I asked myself, what sounds good to me? What feels good? What would I like to do? And so I sat down and I talked to my wife. I said, I would like to wake up late. I would like to be out of the house at 10 a.m. or I'd like to be on my first job at 10 a.m. So don't schedule. I said, I'm not going to schedule a job before 10 a.m. And I said, I'd like to do the job. I'd like to sit down and have some lunch. So I have a first block. And then I have the second block where I do that after my lunch. And then I go home and I'm at home for dinner. That's what I would like. So I told my wife, I said, we're going to do 2 jobs a day. I said, how much would I like to make per day? And I looked at my numbers and everything, and I said $1,000 is sounds nice. That makes me feel good. So I said, okay, each one of those blocks has to be valued at $500. Now, if I get a $700 job in the morning, maybe I'll fill a $300 job in the afternoon because I have that flexibility. I'm not getting out of the house for less than $1,000. But so that's what my mind shifted to, and it was great. I was doing 2 jobs a day. I was making $1,000 a day. And then my mind shifted to, I just want to do one house for $1,000 and I want to go home. I don't want to do a whole bunch. But I've upgraded my equipment now. I'm getting a new rig and everything. So now it's like I can do more. It's not as hard. And so my goal is $2,000 to $3,000 a day, you know? So yeah.
And that's something that, I know Greg Townsend, I haven't seen him on here yet, but Greg Townsend is another one, that he don't get up and leave till 10 o'clock, or actually, I'm sorry, Liberty Power Wash. He don't leave
Oh,
till 10 o'clock. His first job's not till 10, and he's doing very well, and that is definitely making the business work for you versus you working in it and killing yourself. And, at the end of the day, why do we want to do that? And that is 100% true. And I'm going to go back on one thing on here because somebody was saying it, and I agree with it. I'm not saying I agree with it, but saying some people don't want to hear about all the processes and that. And you're right. On some of these long pages, you can have a button that clicks you right to something easy, But if they want, and a lot of times you can hear in their voice if they want to hear it or not. And if you just get it down there and you're able to flow with it, and this is with anything, the biggest thing is get an elevator speech down, get
mhm.
something down, talk to somebody on the phone, that's your buddy or your wife or whoever, and just go through this elevator speech. Because if you do this and you go through the processes and you get it down to a flow, it don't take that long at the end of the day. Where we're talking about that process, we can make that into a 20-second thing. So we're not taking this, well, then the next thing we're going to do. No, it's going to be a nice flow. It's going to be fast. It's going to
Yep.
be to the point, and that they know what they're getting when they pay for it. And when we do that, if we can set that sales of what all we're going to do, we're about guaranteed we can raise our prices and get our prices up. Because
Yeah.
if somebody's going to tell me their processes and I understand and it sounds like a lot of work to me, then I'm willing to pay that,
Right.
and so that is the beauty behind going through that. And like I say, this isn't something that we're going to just bam, 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 and it's about getting that elevator speech down,
Yeah.
getting that elevator speech down of, this is how we answer the phone, this is how we get their information, this is how we get them to say a date, and now this is our process. And we make it a nice flow. It's about a minute and a half long, maybe 2, and they're in and out on the phone. And that's something to say too. We could even say that in the very beginning. All right, so this conversation, we're gonna go over our processes, all that kind of stuff, and just kind of work it out. And that way they know what's coming and they know what's going to happen through the process. Because the more information that we can give them, it makes them feel more warm and fuzzy inside, the more willing they're giving us that $1,000 job, that $750 job, that $3,000 job.
Yeah.
And yes, you can make $3,000 in a day, pressure
Mhm.
washing, paver sealing, anything you want to do at the end of the day. So that is definitely something we can do. All right, so I'm going to move on a little bit because we've been at this for about 40 minutes.
Sorry.
We're no, hey, we're flowing good, and I love it, and we've gotten some good information out here on sales and stuff like that. So what has so I know you had talked about your one failure, but what are three things that you learned from that failure? Or if you have another failure, what is a failure that you did in your business and the three things that you learned from that failure?
Um, Always make sure you don't get burnt out. All right. Don't try to chase other people's expectations. Live the life you want to live. If you want to wake up at 6 a.m. and start cracking jobs, do that. If you want to wake up at noon, do that. What you're doing this to bring yourself happiness. You're doing this so that you don't punch somebody else's clock. You're punching your clock. And in the end, you have to define your own happiness. So I say, define your happiness early and start building your expectations around that, and don't chase what other guys are doing, right? Other guys are out here and they have their own paths. Um, so I think that's number one. Number two, um, buy good equipment. I think every time I've made investments in equipment, I have cut my times by a factor of 50% or more. Better equipment equals better, it equals faster, and faster equals you don't get burnt out. Again, you go back to that whole thing of living the life you want to. So if you want to do 10 houses a day, then you need X equipment. If you want to do one house a day in 30 minutes, again, you need X equipment. So I think the equipment is very important. And again, I wouldn't set my expectations by other people's or my success by other people's expectations, because everybody will talk about the 8-gallon machine and this and that. And while those are great machines to have, um, you know, maybe that's not your personal goal. Maybe that's not where you specifically want to be at. So again, it goes back to defining your happiness. And the last thing is be patient, take your time, learn on these jobs, take every job as a learning opportunity. Don't get frustrated. Don't get man, I'll tell you the first thing I had to learn, because I thought everything was supposed to come perfectly clean, and I'm trying to knock every morsel of dirt off of this. And then I realized this is concrete. Its literal ingredient is dirt. So I had to like kind of take down my bar of perfection in this category, and kind of be happy with whatever the customer was happy with. Um
Yeah, and
and
that's a good point. Not every customer is going to work. Kind of back to the thing. If I can get it 80% clean,
Mm,
there's some people that 20. There you got 10% that just wants a little bit more, and then
yeah.
you got 10% of people that it don't matter what you do, it don't matter how you do it. It's never going to be good enough for them.
Yeah.
And so, you just got to remember, you know, you haven't cleaned this house in 20 years. It's not going to look brand new. I'm sorry. It's not going to look brand new. No matter what I do, no matter how I do it, you've neglected this sucker for 20 years. And now all of a sudden you want it to look brand new. Sorry, but that don't work that way. And those types of customers, you're going to have to maybe go back and do it one more time. You might have to give them the guarantee and say, here's your money back. I hope you're the best. Don't give me a bad review. Go,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that is sometimes you got to deal with that, especially if you guarantee the money back. Did I give money back? Yes. Did I knock money off? That made them, here, I'll knock $50 off. Oh, okay. Thank you. That's the thing you could have did for me. All right. Thank you. And that is some things that, you just got to look at who is your customer and where it is. And the biggest thing is once we find who we want as our customer, then that's how we want to really go and market for that customer.
Yeah.
That is our goal is to market for that customer, because if we can market for that customer, then great things can happen to us and we can grow our business, we can scale. And sometimes I think people have a hard time knowing who is our customer, because a lot of times we don't know who our customer is just because we don't get the phone to ring. And so if we don't get the phone to ring, that's a whole nother issue.
And don't be afraid of the phone not ringing. If the phone's not ringing, and you're at home, you're messing up. Get out there and knock on some doors, get out there and hand out some flyers, get out there and join a chamber of commerce, get out there and join pressurewashinghelp.com and
Yeah.
yeah, I
And you
mean,
can do that
there's
at
gold all over.
pressurewashhelp.com/free and get 33 days.
There you
And
go.
we just had a Zoom call with all the guys in there, or a bunch of them, and with 12 of them tonight. And it's something that will help each one of these grow. I know that I got several that also did $10,000 this month, or the month of October. And so it definitely helps people get to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're honestly not doing $10,000 to $15,000 in this business, 10 to 15 is easy in this business. It's very easy to get there. Just with simple processes, simple workflows, and not trying to kill yourself. Just with basic equipment, you can make $10,000 to $15,000 all day, every day. And just taking your time.
Awesome. So I was going to say, if you are a new guy, you are a new guy. If you were thinking about getting into pressure washing, you wanted to tell a new guy, what was something that you would tell a new guy to do so that they will not have failures?
Watch Jason Guyman videos. Seriously, I mean, that stuff was gold. It was my encyclopedia. In fact, my brother-in-law was helping me, and I was like, hey man, just put him on and just start watching. I don't care what you watch, just watch something. It's filling your head with that, and then again, defining the life you want to live, investing in good equipment, and again, not top of the line equipment. Don't spend $30,000 on a rig. Man, I've talked to guys that have bought $30,000 rigs that are just sitting, man, and I'm just like, why did you buy that? You had no. It's like this. You can't. There's marketing, there's sales, and then there's the service. People will put all their eggs in the basket of service, thinking that a $30,000 rig will somehow generate marketing and sales. And that's not it. You have to put a little eggs in each of the baskets, and then they'll all grow together. If you put $30,000 in a rig and expect the phone call to start ringing, it's just not going to happen. If you put everything into marketing and sales and you don't have the equipment to do the job, which is something that I ran into, then you're going to have to turn down jobs, or you're going to look like an idiot, or you're going to take all day to do jobs, and you're going to get burnt out. It has to be an even rise. You're building 3 buildings at the same time, and you want to lay 1 brick on each one of them and make investments. I've got 4 pressure washers in my garage right now, and 3 of them I don't use. I only use my 4-gallon one, but that's okay, because I put bricks on each one of these things, and they're all growing. And my next investment is going to be the IGX 800. I'm going to go with a 9-gallon machine.
But that $30,000 rig looks really nice.
It does.
And
It looks great in the driveway.
That will get me customers, won't it? If I got a $30,000 rig.
I mean, if I've got a $30,000 rig, you better be driving that thing around. You better be putting some miles on it.
No, I agree 100%. I agree 100%. And a lot of people in these groups, in the Facebook groups, if you're in them, get out of them. I didn't say that out loud too loud, but no, the reason why I say that for is that, they think that the groups that make the money, and it doesn't. Equipment does not make you money. No. I got Greg Townsend on here. He was the one. He's like, Jason, I want you to build me a rig, da 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 da. And I'm like, dude, keep working out of your truck, keep doing what you're doing, and keep making your money. And guess what? He's made more money by doing that versus, if he would have went the other way and spent all this money on a rig, and then that means you're not spending money on marketing, and you're worried about this freaking rig, that don't make you money. What makes you money is learning how to sell, learning how to do getting the phone ring, learning how to do marketing. And like I say, there's two ways to do marketing. One, you open your wallet, or two, you take the time and invest in yourself and you learn it. That's right. I said invest in yourself. Take classes that you pay for. Is everything free on YouTube? Yes, everything is free on YouTube. You can find anything you want on YouTube. But at the end of the day, you probably aren't going to learn it on YouTube because you didn't invest anything into it. And when you don't invest in the stuff and even into yourself, you will not learn it. That's just the way it is. I pay for classes still. You know why I pay for classes? Because I know I will do it. And here's the thing that I always say. If I pay for a class, if I can 10x it in the next year, it is worth it by maybe even
100%.
more than that at the end of the day.
I want to chime in on that. So anybody that's weary about paying for any kind of class, this is and like you said, every bit of information is available online. I learn about, like, I learn literally everything online. I study physics online on YouTube and different videos, and I love everything, right? But there also is universities, right? And they charge people an arm and a leg for to get degrees, in whatever. The reason why you pay for online learning is for one reason. It's not because they have some secret formula. It's because of the structure, right? If I, like, for example, if it took me 4 months of watching Jason Guyman videos and Southeast Southwest and all these different videos, right? But once I went to Pressure Washing Help, it's structured, it's step by step. And I watched your Christmas light one, and it was great because here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3, and I was able to ingest the information as it was relevant. And that's what you're paying for. You're not paying for the content, you're paying for the structure. Okay. So anybody that's here that's like, oh, I could find this online. Yeah, no, everybody knows that. There's no secrets. There's no secrets in the world. Everything is known. Pay for the structure and then invest your time and your energy into the structure of it.
And don't ever stop learning. That is
Yeah.
probably the biggest thing. I still learn. I still listen. Every time I go on a trip, I listen to a book. Every time I get in the car and I just drive around, I listen to podcasts. And the reason why I do that is so that I never stop learning, because I don't know everything. Nobody knows everything. I learn little tricks and hacks in everything that I do. And the biggest thing is don't just be a learner of taking in all this information, but to put it to action. When I read a book, I try to put at least 2 things in that book into action into my business. And why do I do that? So then that way it will get me into the next level. I can read 10 books and never do anything. And all I am is an educated idiot at that point. I don't want to be an educated idiot. I want to be a rich, educated idiot at the end of the day. I want to have money in my pocket so that way I can do it. Yes, the 10X, Grant Cardone is a great one. Russell Brunson is another good person to read books. Mike Kalowinski, The Pumpkin Plan, Crush It with Gary Vee. Those are some very good sales books right there. Them are some very good sales books right there. The Pumpkin Plan, The Profit First, all these different books are definitely ways to get your business growing and be best. The Pumpkin Plan, if you're having problems figuring out what to sell and I want to sell everything, read The Pumpkin Plan, because that's a good book that teaches you how to grow big pumpkins. We don't want little bitty pumpkins, 100 little pumpkins. We want the biggest giant pumpkin. And that is basically what that comes down to, and how to do it and all that kind of stuff. So, I'm
sorry, I'm looking at the comments here, and you still got guys in here talking about equipment, talking about hoses,
I know
talking about 12 volts. And I'm just like, you got to let that go. You guys got to let that go.
I
want to talk to him. I want to say, you got to let that go, guys. Like that. It is a Johnson measuring contest, and that is it. If you don't know how to use it, then is just big for no reason. Guys, let that stuff go. It's good to talk about. It's good information. It's good to talk about in areas, but Jason and I are here talking to you guys about how to make you money. A hose is not going to make you money. A Flexzilla, who cares? I use a Flexzilla with half inch. I see it in here. Don't be distracted by the equipment. Be obsessed with the sales and the marketing, and then the equipment. You'll be able to buy whatever you want in the future. You'll be able to buy 100 rigs. Like, this chat should have no equipment in it. It should be only focused about like what books you guys are reading. Jason just listed off like 10 books, and I'm like sad that I'm gonna watch this video back so I can make sure I hear his books, so I put them in my library. You guys got to be obsessed with the sales and the marketing of it if you want your dollars to grow exponentially. So sorry, I just saw 12 volt, and I'm just like, Flexzilla. I'm just like,
and then were some good books. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that kind of helps you learn.
Yeah.
That is a good book to do it. Duct Tape Marketing is a good book too. That whoever put that in, that's another good book. Yes, both of those are very good books. Yeah, for sure. Rich Dad, Poor Dad will help you understand money. A lot of times people don't understand money, and Rich Dad, Poor Dad kind of teaches you the two dad he had. He had a dad that didn't understand money and went to work 9 to 5. And then he had a friend's dad that made buku loads of money, and basically teaching the principles of the one dad versus the other dad. And so it is a very good book. E-Myth is a good book too. So a bunch of these are great books in here.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually take some notes of these, because these are some I haven't read. I did Rich Dad Poor Dad, but E-Myth I haven't.
You should write a book, Jason. You're about the third or fourth person to say that, so I'll have to. I don't. That's not in my wheelhouse right yet. I'm not gonna say I'll never do that, because if I would say that, I would never have been on YouTube, and I've helped a lot of people out on YouTube. I mean, we got 150 people watching right now, so. I will put a comment. I will put a link into. I don't have no links in here yet, but I will put a link to Jon's YouTube channel if you want to go check it out and subscribe to him. And that way you can do that. Again, if you want to go check out pressurewashhelp.com/free, it gives you 30 days free into the membership. And that membership, this is what all it gets you. Obviously, it gives you all my classes. It gives you a Facebook group, so that way if you have any questions in Facebook group, I'm going to be, it also gives you twice a month Zoom calls I do for Q&A. So that way, if you have any questions for the group, there's usually 10 to 20 people in there. So that way, it's 10 to 20 people. It's twice a month. So that way, if you got any questions, it's a good place to get not just Jason's information, but other people will chime in of what they've done and all of that kind of stuff. For instance, tonight's chat was kind of on the employee side of things, of how to do, whether you should be a one-man band or have employees. And so we went down that trail of the pros and cons, and what's better, what's not. We have a guy in my group that got hit by a truck, and guess what? He was a one-man band. Guess what? He don't make no money right now. So, if he had employees, that wouldn't have happened. And so that's the difference between, a one-man band versus having employees. Now, having employees, you got to make $150,000, $200,000 so that you can make money at the end of the day. Because when we have employees, money goes out the door just as fast as it comes in. You got to pay workers' comp and all the other crap that goes along with having an employee. So again, there's pluses to both, but you don't know which one's going to be better at the end of the day. So again, we went over that kind of stuff. So
just to chime in on that though, I felt really sick. I had 105 temperature about 2 weeks ago, maybe two and a half weeks ago, and I was bedridden in the hospital. But it was cool because my wife and my brother-in-law, work with me, and the phone didn't stop because the marketing we have set up. the phone didn't stop ringing, my wife didn't stop scheduling jobs, and my brother-in-law didn't stop making money. So it was the machine was working without me. Now, and I tell everybody, if you're a business owner, your number one job is to fire yourself. That's what we call it. You have to fire yourself. You have to make yourself. So when I've done business consulting, the number one issue that I ran into with business owners is this ego that you're necessary, and you have to let that ego go, and you have to put people in charge and give them responsibilities so that your business, now you as the business owner, as a facilitator, like my business won't grow without me, but it can operate without me, you know. And you got to get your business at least to there. That's just my opinion on that topic.
Well, and it goes back to what I always say too. You know, if I'm working the truck, if I'm on the truck, that's a $20 an hour job, $15, $20 an hour job. That's not making me money at the end of the day.
Yeah.
If I want to make money, I need to work on the $1,000 an hour jobs, the $10,000 an hour jobs. Maybe I put an email together that takes and it makes $10,000.
Yeah.
Is it better for me to do that or work the $20 an hour job
Right.
on the truck? You know,
You have
and
to
so
fire yourself from the truck.
we gotta
Yep.
we gotta get out of that mindset a lot of times of I'm the best, I can't, nobody else can do it. Are you really? I mean,
Yeah.
I have some guys that one of my best guys, Danny, he was able to, I could load him up with however much money I wanted on him, $2,000-$3,000 a day. And guess what time he'd leave at 7 and he'd be back at 3:30. It didn't matter what I'd put on him. He would be back by 3:30. And so, you know, he was a great guy at it. He did it better than I did at the end of the day. So when I put him on the truck, then I can work on the $10,000 an hour stuff.
There was, I heard a saying, just to kind of speak to that. There was it said B people hire C people, A people hire A plus people. And just to kind of frame that up and kind of what you were saying, hire someone better than you. You know, always look to hire somebody better than you. Don't hire somebody that's adequate or okay. Hire better than you. It's at one piece of the puzzle. You know, you're not going to hire somebody that's going to take your company to the next level in every aspect, but hire somebody that can put water in the house better than you. Hire somebody that can market better than you. Who can, my wife, I trained my wife in sales. She's a better salesperson than me at this. She is better at follow-up. She is better at, you know, customer service. She is better at closing the deals. And guess what? I give that to her. She said, hey, you should talk to this customer. But I was like, no, 100%. This is you. You need to own this. Right.
Yep.
And then
I always say female does better on the phone than a male does anyway.
All day, every day, all day, every day, all day, every day. She's a closer out here. She does it. And I don't get in her way. And then because of that, my phone was ringing and she was answering and I was still getting jobs. And I woke up, I was like 60%. And I had a job that day. And I was like crawling to the job. I was like, I'd spray water on the house and to go sit in the truck and let them rent, you know. But I'd rather have that problem. Like, what problems do you want? You're always going to have some problems. What problems do you want?
Right. Awesome. So with that said, I'm going to jump off here. I don't want to keep Jon too long. Thanks for coming on here. Again, I've subscribed to my channel if you haven't. If not, go ahead and subscribe to Jon's channel. I will put it in the link when I am done here. Once it gets done processing and all the crap it's got to do, I'll put all my links down there. But again, thanks for coming, and we're going to jump off here. I will be back here on Thursday night, and I'll see you then.